Hey guys, how's it going? Today we're back with another engine project, and this is a very, very special engine project because this is an engine that I never thought I would ever own. For those of you guys who don't know, this is a Briggs and Stratton Model F. That's plain F, as in full power. Not FE, not FI, FG, FH, or any of them, just a plain Model F. This is the one that started it all. I guess we can go into a little backstory of the engine, and then I can get into how I acquired this. Like I said, this was basically Briggs and Stratton's first multi-purpose small air-cooled engine. As far as I'm aware, the only one that predated this was the motor wheel. Then they came out with this, and then after that I think they went to the PB and a couple other of the F series, but this is the original one. The F stood for full power, like I said, and these were only made for about 2 years. I think it was 1920 and 21, if I remember correctly, and they are just super neat. However, with all that being said, they are also incredibly sought after and desirable and incredibly hard to find. I think I've only ever seen 2 or 3 of these in my entire life. Not that that's saying that much because I'm not that old, but even so, I've been around to a decent amount of shows and I've only seen 2 or 3 of these in person ever. There's only a handful of them online, and I've never seen one go up for sale, but when they do, they bring quite a lot of money, which is why I never thought I'd ever find one. Lots of really neat little features, and it's just really primitive, and it's really neat to see where Briggs and Stratton really started off and where a lot of small air-cooled engines really started off, and how they've evolved since. I actually was fortunate enough to pick this up off one of my buddies who's into the engine collecting stuff. Sadly, his grandfather passed away about a year ago and left him with a whole lot of stuff, which he's also into it, so he hasn't really been selling. His grandfather has anything from huge multi-cylinder diesel industrial engines to super rare flywheel engines to steam engines to small air-cooleds like this. And I'd always wanted to go over and see his place, but sadly he passed away before I could get over there. His grandson started coming around the shows, and I got to know him, and I got to be friends, and he was like, yeah, come on over, I'll show you the collection. And opened up the doors to the shop there, and it was like, whoa, there's some neat stuff here. I was just kind of in la la land for a while, just kind of like drooling over all these engines. But in looking around up on the top shelf in the corner there, I spotted this, and I was like, holy crap, that's an F. And he's like, yeah, it's pretty neat, right? And I'm like, yeah, I really, really, really want one of them at some point. And then he's like, he saw how much I was, nerding out about it and going on and on. He's like, I tell you what, I'll cut you a deal on this. Let me think about it. And I was like, okay, cool, just let me know. And we ended up talking next time I went over, because that was a very quick visit. I went over for a slightly more in-depth tour and saw this and several other really rare early Briggs and Stratton engines and all sorts of other neat stuff. But in terms of my space and money, this is about all I could really afford, I think. And he's like, you know what, I'll cut you a deal. I know it's worth more than this, but I want to see my grandfather's engines run, and I love how enthusiastic you are, so how's this number? My jaw about hit the floor, and I said, yep, next time I see you, I'm going to have that cash, and went, saved up some money, and went back and bought this, along with a good handful of other really rare and early Briggs and Stratton engines that I also never thought I'd ever own, but those are going to be topics of future videos. There's actually a couple more things there that I wouldn't mind owning, so we're going to see about them, but I think I got the main ones I was after there, and it was just super cool. And Tommy, if you happen to be watching this, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate this, because this is super awesome to be able to have such a high caliber and rare engine in my collection, at such a young age, because, I could never afford what these actually go for. So the fact that I was able to pick up several of these and afford it as a college kid should tell you about how good of a deal I got. I've been telling my friends it's the deal of 100 lifetimes, because it really is. But yeah, anyways, that's the backstory. Couple neat features. We got this drip oiler. This thing is basically all original. I should state that now. It's in incredible original shape. The only 2 things I've found so far that aren't original is this oiler. Best I could tell, a lot of them had a slightly bigger one with just a regular oil without these cool like brass sections, but I think this one just looks really, really neat. And I bet that's why Tom put that on there, because it just looks neat and it complements the engine well. We got all original paint. Got a lot of red down here. I was able to clean it up a bit and get a lot of that to shine through. And we got silver up on the fins here, and the pipe and the rocker arm and everything. This plate, best I can tell, would have originally been brass. So I think somebody made this, and if they did a really good job. Unless it was always steel. I don't know. I've always heard that they were brass, but could be wrong. It's even on their little chain there. This is actually your choke plate. So you put that like that to pull it, and that's what chokes it for when you start the engine up. Got the original piece pipe carburetor, as it's known. Obviously somebody's tampered with it here. I don't know if that was them trying to get it apart, or there was a hole in the pipe or what, but there's a section from about there to there of the pipe that's just not there. So I haven't decided what I'm going to do there yet. They were obviously fighting some air leaks, but I think this is an engine that Tom actually had running because of repairs like this and the sealer there and just basically everything being there, and also this tank, which funny enough that pipe plug is not centered at all. But that tank is both clean and dry and doesn't smell of varnish or anything. So I think this is one that he actually ran. But that was kind of the neat thing with Tom's collection, is he has everything and anything that you could dream of, and he ran all of it. But yep, there's some information there, some patents and stuff. Kind of neat script. It's serial number 971, I believe. It's on the back of the flywheel here somewhere. Or 957, sorry. There you go. The serial number list for these is very sparse, but best I can tell, this is a late 1920, very early 21. Excuse me. Based on what's there. You can see the original breather tube. It's literally just a pipe plug drilled out with this tube in it. Got the original muffler. The rocker arm is a piece of stamped steel. Atmospheric intake, powered exhaust, obviously. This is the kill switch, which is also hilarious. You got a rubber insulator here, a piece of wire, and you slide that over and it grounds the wire out. Obviously that needs fixed. But yeah, it's a really, really nice example of a Model F. Turns over, it's got a tiny bit of compression, but I think it needs a valve job, and the rings are probably stuck and whatnot, because Tommy's a little bit older than me, and he said he's never seen it run. So I'd imagine this hasn't run in probably at least 30, 40 years. So figured what better way to kick off Christmas break than get this thing going, because it's been sitting on my dresser as a display piece at school for the last several months since I picked it up, and now got home from break a couple hours ago, cleaned up the garage, and why not dive right into it? So I figured this would be an awesome video to take you guys along, show you this really neat piece of history, and let's dive in. I'm going to put the camera in time-lapse mode and let's tear this thing apart, see how it works, and get it running again. Here we go. Alright, I know I said I was going to go into time-lapse mode, but I just had to show you guys this. I think this is a first. It's got spark. What are the chances of that? Thing's got perfect spark. I don't even need to mess with the points of the condenser or anything. That's wild. I guess that just goes to show how good it is to store these engines in a closed environment, even if it's damp. Like my shed, I never have to mess with points. Wow, that's wild. Can't believe that. But anyways, let's get down to the let's get into the teardown process. Alright, so just like that, we got her all blown apart here. It's easier when you don't have to take the flywheel off and deal with all that stuff. And some neat design stuff and some little discoveries here. Tank ain't bad. Probably just gonna clean that up a little bit and call it good. It's got quite a stench to it though, I can tell you that much. That's a little oil pan there, quite literally just a pan or a plate. Just gonna scrape that off with a razor blade and get the old gook and gasket sealer and oil off there. Likewise with the bottom of the engine here. This is kind of neat, never knew this. These bearings have little tubes that go from the bearing all the way down. Whoops, there goes the piston. And sit in these slots. So any excess oil just drips out the bottom of the thing, which is wild, never seen that before. All the engines newer than that just have a little hole at the bottom and lets the oil drip back into the engine there. What I did was I shot a little oil with an oil gun down into each of these tubes, so now this spins really nice and free. So those bearings seem good. You can probably see the cute little camshaft up in there. Maybe. I'm gonna get my phone out. I can shed some light on the situation here. I'm trying to do this all at the same time. There we go. Maybe. Yep, that's the little cam up there. If I spin this, you can see the lobe come around, maybe. Some professional camera work, folks. Oh well, you get the idea. So there's that. Crank journal doesn't look too bad. A little bit of scoring, one or two little pits. That's, again, there's not like I can get any reproduction parts for this. Or new old stock parts, I meant. Normally with most of these engines, I tear them apart, I go through them completely. If this is, I'll measure all this. If this is out of spec, then I'll replace it and all that stuff. But this is unobtainium. I can't get a new crank for this. And I don't think I'm going to pull it out and get it machined either, because it's so small that I don't even know if I even could. Maybe. I guess in theory I could get that machined and put fresh babbitt in this, I guess. There's not even any shims, so I don't know what I'd do. But point being, I think I'm just going to clean it up. Probably take a little Scotch-Brite, polish it, call that good enough. The pistons actually only got one ring, which is a very interesting design choice. Did not know that. Yeah, it's kind of neat. One singular little ring, I'm sure is pretty worn out. I don't even know if I'm going to bother popping it off there or not, just because I guess I could get new rings made. Maybe I'll pop it off and just measure it in the bore, see where we're at least. Cutest little thing too, because I mean this is my hand, and I don't have great giant hands either. This looks like a babbitt insert or poured babbitt potentially to me. I'm not 100% sure on that, it's just kind of what it resembles. It's in okay shape. It's definitely gotten a little warm and it got a little worn at some spots. Again, I think I'm just going to clean it up best I can. Likewise here, especially when there's one little spot there that catches the fingernail. I think we're just going to clean it up, because again, there's not a heck of a lot that I can do. And honestly, I've seen worse. That's the thing with these Briggs engines. They'll run no matter what. I mean, you can go look up Small Engine Mechanic Mike's Briggs Model A series. He took this Briggs Model A completely apart and it measured every single piece. So, like, every single piece was worn like twice beyond the reject size. He put it back together. The thing runs great. It still makes its rated horsepower. He measured it. It's crazy. I like to make them perfect so then they start and run without trouble, and then I don't have to worry about them hammering themselves to death. But with something like this is not going to sit there and run as much as my other engines. This is going to be a sit there and fire it up every once in a while thing. I mean, it's not like it's driving anything, so as long as there's not crazy slop and stuff, then I'm not too worried. But again, maybe later down the line I'll pull it apart and I'll grind this and make new babbitt and all that stuff. We'll see. For my purposes right now, I just wanted to make sure that there was nothing like catastrophic in here, and then I can put it back together and get it running again. One thing I do not like, and this is something that I can fix, is that there is noticeable slop in the wrist pin bushing. Now, the thing I can't tell right now is if it's the bushing on the end of the connecting rod, the wrist pin itself, or it's the wrist pin inside of the piston. That might be subject to a future little machining endeavor, is to make that, better. But yeah, got the carburetor soaking in the chem dip just to clean it up a little bit. Next, I think we'll pop these valves out. I'm wondering if this exhaust valve was replaced, because it looks like a newer valve and it's got the keeper on top. Intake looks like it's original. I might replace it because I've heard that these have a habit of dropping valves, and I'd really rather not do that. But we'll see. I have to see if a newer valve from a different engine could fit this, or if I have to machine a brand new one. We'll see. Looks like a little copper crush washer in there too for a head gasket, which is kind of neat. But yeah, she's torn pretty much completely apart. I'm going to get some of this stuff soaking in the chem dip just to clean it up. Clean up the inside of this best I can. It looks really dirty and sooty. It's actually just oily cast. Just kind of a rough cast engine. But again, these are very primitive, so that's what you get. Oh, I don't know if I mentioned, the bore looks pretty good too. It's not perfect. I'm not going to be able to lift this one-handed. It's not perfect, but nothing too alarming there. Just looks a little glazed. Again, might just clean it up a little bit and call it good. But yeah, overall, I'd say pretty good news. It's got some hours on it, obviously, but given that it's 103 years old, approximately, I would expect it. I wouldn't be surprised if it did. And I think we're just going to overall clean everything up pretty good and slap her back together and see if she'll run. So yeah, that's where we stand. And then maybe one day if I get really carried away, I'll go ahead and make all this perfect, but we'll see. Given my current capabilities and tools, I don't know if I'll be able to, but we'll keep it in mind. Anyways, gonna go ahead and throw some of this stuff in the chem dip, let it start cooking, and then the other stuff we're gonna keep cleaning up. Alright, so a little status update here. Got all the valves lapped in real nice. They're seating a hell of a lot better. Also got them freed up a little bit. They were definitely gummy. Got some hours on it, obviously. That wiggles around, but then again, these were pretty sloppily built motors, so I'm sure they'll run sloppy too. It's kind of what I've decided for this thing, is I'm just cleaning everything up that's here and I'm going to just run it. It's not like it's going to get used to power or anything. It's just going to run a little while it shows here and there. And honestly, I don't even know if this is going to be a motor that I let run when I'm not there. So anyways, that being said, one day later down the line, maybe I'll go through and do some more thorough machining, put valve guides in and do this wrist pin bushing and all this crap. But for today, I just want to hear it run. Cleaned up the piston and the rod and everything. That cleaned up real nice. And the Babbitt bearing there, or at least I think it's Babbitt. Still not 100% sure on that one, but that definitely looks pretty good. The same for this guy. That cleaned up pretty good. There's one or two little imperfections in there in the Babbitt, but you know, I don't think it's too big of a deal. Cleaned out this tank a little bit, so that's looking pretty good. Cleaned up the oiler a little bit. I'm gonna still hit the rest of this glass just a touch. Just clean it up, make it look perfect. Let the carburetor soak. This is actually cracked here and somebody tried to solder it. That's why this kind of looked like a mess. Hopefully that's not too big of a deal. Definitely going to clean up the end of this tube here and try and, well actually I'm wondering if they tried to solder the tube to the carburetor like that. But try and clean that up best I can and see if I can't get that to work. Maybe that's why this was cut. Now I'm thinking about it, I wonder if they soldered that chunk into the carburetor and then put this chunk in the engine and then bridged it with the rubber. That's my new hypothesis, at least. Might end up redoing this, might end up just leaving it for character, if you will. What else I do? I cleaned up the crankshaft and the bore just a touch too. Just got rid of some of the carbon and whatnot with a little bit of Scotch-Brite. That stuff's looking really good. Not that you can see it too great from over here, but it looks pretty good. So honestly, at this point, I think what we're going to do is just clean out some of this gook that's in the crankcase, and from there I think it's pretty much time to start reassembly. I'm going to make some gaskets and stuff. That's the other thing I did. I cleaned this off with the razor blade and got as much of the original gasket off as possible. But yeah, at this point I think it's time to start putting it back together. So let's get the time lapse rolling again. I'm going to make some gaskets here and start slapping this thing back together, and then hopefully tomorrow morning we can fire this thing off and see if she won't run. So getting pretty darn excited. It's a shame that it's already 11 p.m. or I would say we'd run it tonight, but my parents and my sister are asleep upstairs and the neighbors probably wouldn't love that too much either. So unfortunately we're gonna have to wait, but either way, let's carry on here. I'm gonna start making some gaskets and whatnot, and yeah, let's keep going. Alrighty guys, so it's all back together. Everything went back together pretty smoothly. Had to make some gaskets for the bottom there, as you may or may not have saw. And pretty much everything flew back together the way it came apart. Put some gasket sealer around the intake tube on both ends here to help seal that a little bit. And it's definitely got more compression, but there's also definitely times where this intake valve is just not seating right, because I can feel the air rushing out of here. I think what we're going to do is go ahead and try and run it and see if it will fix itself with time. If not, I'll pop the head off. I'll take this valve completely out. I guess I'll just grind this flat and get a new valve. And if it comes down to it, put a valve seat, or not seat, but guide in it, and really make sure that that's ground and lapped in really good. But yeah, otherwise everything else seems pretty happy. I poured oil in until it came out of this little drip thing on the side, because best I could tell that's how it's supposed to be. Not 100% sure, but I figured a little bit more oil on startup would be better than not enough. I got this guy set. This drip oiler seems really nice actually. It doesn't seem to leak any, and it's very easy to set, and it just drips really nice. Shortened up the plug wire a little bit, and yeah, I think it's moment of truth time. Yeah, let's see. Oh, also I was wrong. It's 1921 and 22 these were made, so here we go. Late 1921 Briggs and Stratton Model F. First start. Got the oiler on, put the choke plate on. I have the mixture set somewhere. We'll see. Let's see what happens. Oh, fired once. Wonder if that means it's a touch rich. Lean it out, half a turn. Couple times there. I'm gonna reset this mixture. And it's alive. Almost. That's promising though. Finicky little thing. Right. And off she goes. Would you look at that? It's alive. Yes, let's go. We have a running 1921 Briggs Model F. Man, I never thought I'd ever get to see that in person, let alone own one. That's absolutely wild. Alright guys, so I did a lot of fine tuning, and I think I got this thing dialed in pretty darn good. Went ahead and made a new throttle linkage over there and played with the spring tension and all that stuff. Put a fresh spark plug in it, dialed in a couple other little things, and she's just putting right along. When I've seen in person and online, these Briggs Model Fs like to kind of run wild and take off, and it's a little scary, and they don't like to sit put and or sit in one place and stay put. That's what I'm trying to say there. But this thing's been running for a good 20-30 minutes just like this, and it seems to be pretty darn happy. I accidentally dumped an entire oil's worth of oil in there because I had that set way too high, which is why it's smoking a little bit. But hey, it's got lubrication, so can't complain too much. But yeah, this thing runs absolutely awesome. I am like ecstatic with this. The fact that it's just sitting here putting away like this, hitting every time like it should, and actually we're gonna bring this back just a touch, and not running at like 1,000,000 RPM, like, oh my God. It's one thing to have an F, it's another to have a running F, it's a whole other realm to have one that runs this good. Which honestly I did not expect given how worn out the throttle shaft is in that carburetor, but hey, it seems pretty damn happy, and I am, like I said, absolutely ecstatic. So yeah, I'd say that was a huge success of a project. It honestly wasn't even that bad. The thing didn't need that much. I like how you can see the valves going up and down like that. And the oiler's dripping. But yeah, pretty darn happy with that. I think the only last steps I have for this is I want to get some linseed oil and really wipe this thing down so that red really pops. And then after that, I want to build a really nice base for it. Something pretty ornate, I think, with some wood and whatnot, maybe some chamfered edges. I'll have to work with my dad on it, but I think this thing deserves a really nice, ornate display base, just given what it is. I haven't mounted to this piece of wood just for now, just for starting, and keep it from running away too much, but it deserves something nice. So, yeah, very, 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 very happy with that. Real nice and quiet too. I really did not expect that, but this muffler does a hell of a lot. We're gonna see if I can do this one-handed here. I took it off earlier and it's got a nice little bark to it without the muffler. I was surprised because my FH doesn't really, so I'm kind of surprised that this does. Pretty funny. You wouldn't expect such a small engine to have that bassy of a thump. Actually, it's really neat. If you look in there, that's the valve going up and down. You can actually see a little bit of fire coming out of it. That's pretty neat. But yeah, she's got a nice thump to her. Did not expect that, but yeah. Put that back. I didn't really think there was even that much to these mufflers, but apparently there are. But yeah, like I said a million times, I am beyond ecstatic with this. I still can't believe that I'm looking at one of these in my garage, running this good. I never thought I'd ever actually be able to own one. But yeah, there you go. Hopefully you guys enjoyed seeing this neat piece of history torn apart. Can't imagine there are well, I can say there aren't too many videos of these online to begin with, and I don't think that there's any real teardown videos like this, except maybe Small Engine Mechanic Mike's. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I think we're going to leave you off here with a couple minutes of just watching it put away. So with that, I'm going to sign off. Thank you very much for watching. If you like what you see, hit the little like and subscribe buttons. I'd appreciate that. By all means, leave a comment if you have one, and we'll see you in the next one with some more rare, interesting engines.